Okay, we're going to be talking about quarterbacks 11 on here in our review of the Yahoo Fantasy player rankings, player by player. And we're talking about quarterbacks here. Let's go with number 11.
Number 11 on this list I've got here is Eli Manning. And I know that you think the Giants are not going anywhere this year.
I think the Giants are going to be a lousy team this year, to be honest with you. I think Coughlin has wore out his welcome there. I think he's going to wind up losing his job at the end of the season. I know that's going out on a limb to suggest that before a game's been played. I think Eli Manning is a good player, and I think he can produce a lot. But the Giants have some questions at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
They do have good wide receivers. It's just how they're using them that seems to be the struggle. And I really don't think that the Giants are going to produce in a division where you've got the Redskins, the Cowboys,
very tough
and the
division
Eagles.
this year.
I think the Giants wind up being the odd man out in that battle. They might wind up with a better record of the Redskins, but Eli Manning winds up getting lost in the shuffle with that.
Yeah, probably, which is kind of a shame because the man's got talent.
I do think he's a great quarterback. If you believe in the Giants this season, take him because I think he'll get some stats.
He'll get some numbers, but
I think his stats will be lower, and I would probably shy away from him.
We've got Joe Flacco sitting after Manning, and that's...
Joe Flacco's an interesting quarterback. They brought in some weapons at wide receiver to help out Flacco with the passing game.
And
right, I think he's going to be a great addition.
Who's the other guy? Dante Stallworth.
Yes, those guys will be good. And they're going to be a run-first team, though, which could hurt Flacco's stats. But I think the Ravens are probably going to blow out some teams this year, too, which could benefit Flacco in the first and second quarter before they're way ahead.
Yeah.
I think Flacco's a safe pick at quarterback, but he does have a tendency to be lost in the shuffle because they've got Ray Rice. I
think the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl. I'm just not sure what Flacco's going to bring to that table. Although, like you said, he does have new weapons, and
they got a great tight end too.
It's a question of whether or not how they're going to use him. Whether they're going to use Flacco just to open up the run game, or whether they're actually going to try and
I think
score
for the Ravens to be
passing.
successful, Flacco has to be successful to open up that run game for Ray Rice. But I do think he plays second fiddle to Ray Rice statistically.
Yes, in all likelihood. Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan, actually, in one of the mock drafts I did, Matt Ryan was picked, I think, like 5th overall, like in the first round.
I wouldn't go that far, but I do.
To which everybody else was like, "Really? Thanks. We'll have running backs."
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I think Matt Ryan's going to be good this year. I think the Falcons are going to wind up competing with the Saints to take that division. I think the Falcons are going to go deep in the playoffs. I do think they make the playoffs and go deep, and I think Matt Ryan's going to be a big part of that. I like the way their offense plays ball. So I think Ryan is going to be good statistically, and it's probably a safe bet to be a starting quarterback.
The Falcons have all the ingredients for success, except for the fact that they're in the same division as the Saints, which
and then
help.
You got the pesky Panthers too. So
yeah,
they'll always wind up 8-8 regardless of their situation.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I think Ryan is a good safe bet, and I think he'll get you some really good returns.
Some numbers, yeah.
So I would be safe picking Ryan, especially if you have to pick lower in the draft order.
Mm-hmm. How about Matthew Stafford?
I'm a big Stafford fan.
After what
he did against Cleveland.
The Cleveland game made fans out of us.
The year for some people. But Stafford's going to have all the tools necessary, I think, to produce fantasy numbers that are really solid. The problem is you're talking about the Lions, and the Lions always underachieve, always underperform, and they're always one injury away from being a one-win team. So.
Yeah.
You're putting a lot on the idea that the Lions will be a competitive team. They're going to have to play from behind, and that helps you when you're picking a quarterback. So if you want to bet on the Lions always playing from behind and Stafford being healthy, take Stafford because they're going to have to pass a lot. He could have a couple 300-yard games thrown in the mix there with a couple of touchdowns. The problem is you're betting on the Lions.
Yeah, and he's definitely worth consideration as a backup, especially if you're starting quarterback has a bye week during the week with the Lions have a favorable matchup.
I think he winds up being a starter for a lot of people.
You think so?
I think it's a safe bet personally, but I could see where there'd be a lot of criticism towards that idea of riding him to your fantasy football championship.
Donovan McNabb with the Redskins now kind of pulled a Favre there.
I think McNabb put himself in a bad situation. He, for many years with the Eagles, played without good wide receivers. And without Brian Westbrook, that team would have been terrible. McNabb was always good, but I think that team would have been terrible had he not also had Westbrook to rely on, because McNabb never had people to throw to. Guess what? The Eagles finally got him an excellent receiver core. I think that's going to help Kevin Cobb. McNabb finally had excellent receivers in Philadelphia, and he leaves for Washington, who doesn't have good wide receivers. And they've got
Moss, and that's about it.
They've got questions all over their roster, too. So this team could really be a 10-win team, or they could be a 4-win team. I really tend to shy towards the under 500 finish. And McNabb does get hurt, too. And so I would probably shy away from McNabb as my starter. If you do pick him, have a really good backup. Maybe even take the Redskins backup, because I don't think he's going to produce the way some people think.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Carson Palmer. Cincinnati.
Carson Palmer is an enigma as far as I'm concerned, because when the Bengals...
needs to have a great season. Will he have a great season?
When the Bengals are good, it's when Carson Palmer plays. The moment Carson Palmer gets hurt, that team is awful.
Yeah.
Now, they are talented at wide receiver, so he's got options to throw to there. They've got a great running game. They had a balanced attack last year, and they kind of ran roughshod over their division. So
they've got a great running game, but I don't know if you heard about Cedric Benson in the doghouse recently. He got arrested.
Well, which Bengals player hasn't been arrested?
Well, okay,
lately,
but
so,
he might miss games. That's all I'm saying.
13, 14 chances. So I think Palmer's a great pick if he's healthy. But he's had injury concerns every season, so and that team falls apart without him.
Alex Smith, 49ers.
Terrible pick. I think he's a terrible pick. I would stay away from him. I don't think Michael Crabtree is going to have this excellent season that some people are predicting. I think Frank Gore gets hurt right away. I think Alex Smith has to play from behind too many times this season to be a viable fantasy option for a team that wants to contend.
I don't think you give Smith enough credit. I think I think San Francisco is in a position where they can jump up to the Cardinals' place atop the NFC West if they
the Cardinals have some weaknesses at quarterback.
Well, yeah.
And so do the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams are obviously rebuilding, and I'm not sure they're still an NFL team. But so I do think there's room for Alex Smith to emerge. But we've been waiting for Alex Smith to emerge for seasons now. It seems like forever that Alex Smith is supposed to live up to some potential that I don't think he really has. And I do think this team is going to be playing from behind, and they're going to struggle because Alex Smith needs to be comfortable to be good. And I don't think he's going to be comfortable that often.
All right, and we've got Big Ben.
No,
Ben Roethlisberger.
Stay away from him the first month. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
He's going to be out some games. Ben Roethlisberger, he's a hit-and-miss fantasy quarterback as it is because sometimes the Steelers just don't score. And Roethlisberger spent a lot of time getting sacked the last 3 or 4 seasons. I personally would say with him not even playing the first 4 games or so, depending on where his suspension winds up.
4 to 6, yeah.
4 to 6.
Possibly 8.
Probably 4. I would stay away from him because his returns when he is your fantasy quarterback aren't that high anyway. And they also lost
Holmes.
So I don't think he's going to be a great fantasy option. And I think if he comes back and struggles after 2 or 3 weeks, you could see a Leftwich or Dennis Dixon come in his place too. So,
yes, you most certainly could.
Those guys are going to get all the time they need to be starters come the first 4 weeks of the year. So
yeah,
I would stay away from that.
All right, and some more momentarily in the next video.
So where are we at in the standings right now? In the rankings?
We got 8 on that one.
Okay. So we'll pick it up with number 19.